What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin Cash today. Hit that like button, you guys. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and let's get into it. All right. Shout out to the Dragon Riders in the House of the Dragon. We're actually, I think, having a better month than most cryptos, aren't we? If you look at others here, you go to the monthly time frame. Yeah, others. The average crypto here is down 6.5% this month. Bitcoin Cash is up 12%. Bitcoin itself is only up 2%. So you're having a hell of a time, Bitcoin Cash, outperforming most of the market this month, and people aren't even really talking about you. What else is new, man? That's how it happens. This thing does its best work in the dark. Not financial advice, not a financial advisor, but Bitcoin Cash is one of my largest holds. I haven't sold any of it. I expect it to do very, very, very well. I haven't added to it, right? There's some other coins that have caught my eye recently, but I think it's good to diversify. And this is one of my largest bags after all. It's a coin that I have a lot of hope in, a lot of aspirations for to go to new all-time highs this cycle. The current all-time high is at about $4,300, and I do believe that we will crush that. I think that you can see $10,000 price, $13,000 price, and maybe even beyond that by the end of this year of 2025. And I've got some reasons for that, and I'll get into that. But first, let's do the short-term stuff. Hold on. So on a short-term note, looking at the daily time frame, we're at about 341 now. Moving up with volume coming in. That's nice. Yeah, you sold off here with a lot of volume, but it didn't persist. It didn't go anywhere. So this, whatever. It was just some mayhem. I'm not worried about it. We've seen this kind of stuff happen before, right? Here you sold off with a lot of volume, and look, it didn't really persist. You did go lower inevitably, but it didn't give you lower lows. It inevitably allowed you to grow to higher highs. Looking at this here, you do have a triple bottom. I think this is absolutely a perfectly defined triple bottom. Triple bottoms are very ugly, and this looks to be pretty damn ugly in itself. If it's not a triple bottom, it's a double bottom with a fake out low, but either way, it's bullish. You're at this lower end of consolidation, and I think that when it comes time to not getting up here, but really breaking above this area here, I think that's when we can look to expand, that's the word I was looking for, to prices that are above $400, maybe even above $500. And we might be there. We might be above 500, you guys, by the end of April. Genuinely, if not certainly above 400, but that's not too far away. We're at 340 now. I'm just saying closing above 345, 350 on a daily basis, that's a big deal. That's a really big deal. I think that it'll validate the notion that we're breaking out and moving away from this overall consolidation phase here. The daily RSI looks pretty healthy. You did get a little bit oversold, and that's fine. Overbought, oversold, a little bit volatile, but now you're living above the 50, which is nice to see. The 4-hour RSI here, very bullish. Yeah, getting overbought, not getting oversold, living above the 50. We love it. Good stuff. Bouncing off the 40. We love it. Good stuff. Volume coming into the upside. You're looking like, honestly, Bitcoin Cash, you're looking like you want to move up rather immediately. Not financial advice, not a financial advisor. You're at 341 now. Don't be surprised if you do move back down to about 330, 335, something like that, just a little bit lower. But you really could be on your way to higher prices right now. 1 hour time frame, looking bullish as hell. Yeah, I think you're on your way up. So over the days to come, over the weeks to come, you're going to be moving up higher. How high are you going to go? Let's just see. From a relative high here to the relative low there. 382, 236, you're going to your golden ratio, baby. That's what it is. Yeah. Hell yeah, you are. By the end of next week, over the coming days, over the next week in itself, you're going to move up to 446 to 477. Bitcoin Cash does like to find resistance in this area at the golden ratio, but sometimes it even exceeds that and goes to the 786. Let's see if we can find an example of this real quick. Sure, right here even, right? High to low. You went all the way up above your golden ratio, right above but still right to the 6.9 and then inevitably up to the 786 area here. And then, of course, higher. But I guess that's not the best example there. Let's see. What about another, maybe something like this one? High to low. Come on now. 786, 886, crushed through the golden ratio, right? Something like that. And I'm sure there's plenty of examples. I mean, we could probably spend all day doing this, but, same thing here. Crushed it right there. It's very common to do. So while based off of a standard chart, I would say that the golden ratio is the expected area. I really do want to throw the notion in that we could see prices at 523, even above that. Yes, by the end of April. I think that this next move is going to happen in a very short amount of time. I don't think that it's going to take weeks or months to achieve. I think that we're on our way there now. And what's great about that is whenever you break above, when you get above, let's see actually here, hold on a weekly basis, where is that line? When you get above about 523 here, you're above this shelf where you found resistance before. You found resistance before here, and I believe if we zoom out, hold on now. Well, let me delete the fib here. I believe you're breaking out of this at that level there, at about 523. Let's see. Yes, yes. Let's see. We're gonna tip it right there. So no, not quite at 523. My bad. I don't. Maybe it's like 550, 550. So yeah, 555, five something like that. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So 550. My bad. 523 is exciting. It is exciting because it's the 786 of this overall fib here, but getting above the 786, getting to the 886 or the 550 level, 575 level, that would be exciting in itself because you're breaking out then of this multi-cycle consolidation phase that you've been in. And this is where we really start talking about the exciting stuff. Okay, as much as going from 341 to $500, $600, $800 is exciting, what's going to happen after that's even more exciting, right? Because from here, from this point here to that point, we extend this line out to the right. You've been in this consolidation phase, held down by this line, this downward sloping trend line for multiple cycles since your inception, really, in 2017. And if we look at this, it's not in a downtrend, right? Bitcoin Cash is no more in a downtrend than it is in an uptrend right now, right? I wouldn't call this an uptrend just because you have higher lows. I wouldn't call it a downtrend just because you have higher highs. You are consolidating. The first time that you hit this area, you found resistance, immaculate resistance. The second time you found resistance, immaculate resistance. The third time, not so much. You're flirting, right? When you flirt enough, sometimes you just get penetration, right? You break right through that level, that wall right there, and you might tear through it on this attempt here, and I think that you will. I'm a bit surprised we didn't do it this last attempt, but there was some negative momentum coming into the bull market here, into the crypto cycle, into the crypto markets themselves with the tariffs and stuff like that. It's retrospectively foreseeable, but we didn't foresee that back then. It definitely seemed as though we were going to break through. I would think that a third attempt in a short amount of time, unlike these attempts that are so spread out, I would think that a third attempt in a very short amount of time would enable us to break through. Lines, after all, diagonal lines aren't always the most significant in any line. When you find significance on them more than 3 times, it's at that point it's a meme. It's inevitable until you break through it, right? You're absolutely going to break through this line, and that's going to cause a sensation for Bitcoin Cash, you guys. Right now, not a financial advisor, but right now, Bitcoin Cash is looked at as a wannabe Bitcoin. It doesn't want to be BTC. It might want to be Bitcoin. It might want to be exactly what Satoshi Nakamoto set out for it to be, but in that sense, it's not a wannabe. It is that, right? It's the better Bitcoin. A lot of people don't see that. They see it as the wannabe Bitcoin. They see it as the scam coin, the Roger Ver coin, right? A lot of people have these negative notions with that. But the thing is, we're in a cycle now where there's a whole new class of investors. They don't know who the hell Roger Ver is. They don't know what happened with all of this negative stuff between the block size wars, right? There's no the block rewards, the block size wars. I don't know what to call it. Where was I going with this? The bad blood, the negative media hype, the negative attention that Bitcoin Cash received, unfortunately, back here, because there was a lot of tension between the BTC and BCH core developing teams, right? Now it's not so much like that, right? We kind of like poke fun at each other, right? We're more like rivals in a sports team, but not to the point where we want to kill each other, right? Just to the point where we talk smack, but it's respectable smack. I'm getting away from the point. What I'm trying to say is there's a new class of investors that didn't exist back here. They don't know too much about Bitcoin Cash. When they ask about it, they ask OGs about it. They're like, "Oh yeah, Bitcoin Cash is a scam coin. It's a wannabe Bitcoin. Don't worry about that." So they listen. But what's going to change their mind, what's going to make them look into it is, in fact, a move like this that breaks out of a multi-cycle consolidation phase. You don't have to be that educated whenever it comes to technical analysis to understand that breaking out of a multi-cycle consolidation phase is a big deal. Even if you are educated, even if you're one of the people who despises Bitcoin Cash, or you think it's going to zero, you're one of those people, and you say it's going to go to zero, and that it's just a wannabe Bitcoin, it's a fake Bitcoin, it's never going to achieve anything, and it's a failed project. If you're one of those people, you're going to start looking at Bitcoin Cash differently too whenever it breaks out of this range, right? And I'm assuming that breaking out of a multi-cycle range, getting a new perspective, a fresh perspective, being looked at in a different scope than you genuinely have been looked at in your entire existence, I think that in combination together will set us up for a rather miraculous move. And I think Bitcoin Cash is gearing up right now. I've been saying it for months, man. I've been saying it for so damn long. But I think when you break out of this, you're going to see the biggest expansion, the largest move that you've ever seen in your life, Bitcoin Cash. I think it's coming. I really do think that it's coming. We're at 341 right now. From a relative high to a relative low, the expectation would be to crush the golden ratio, go all the way up to your 786, 886 area. We're talking about a price that could be anywhere from $1,800 to $2,700 by the end of June. We've got more big things coming on than just breaking out of a multi-cycle consolidation phase, right? If we look at this through the ribbon, the MA ribbon, EMA ribbon. The monthly ribbon here, especially guys, if we can close this month above this ribbon, that'd be phenomenal. I think that'd be really, really good. But this monthly ribbon is looking like it wants to close or cross bullishly. It's only, and just let me explain real quick, the yellow line is the shortest moving average, right? It's a set of moving averages from the 20 EMA to the 55 EMA. When the yellow line is down, it's bearish. Whenever it crosses up, it's what they call a bullish cross. It's not the same as a death cross and a golden cross, but you can think of it similarly to that. Crossing bullishly is big, even on a daily time frame, a weekly time frame, let alone a monthly time frame, which you've never seen before. Something else you've never seen before is acceptance by the crypto community. Something else you've never seen before is breaking out of this multi-cycle consolidation phase. Alongside with those two things and breaking out of the or having the monthly ribbon flip bullish, you really have a storm where it doesn't matter who you are. If you hate Bitcoin Cash just to hate it, you're going to get left behind. It doesn't matter what your premise, your thoughts are on Bitcoin Cash. At this point, you're going to have to call a spade a spade. There's some bullish stuff going on. And I don't care who you are. You could be brand new to crypto. If you have any kind of technical abilities at all with charts, you can see this. It's going to attract speculators. It doesn't matter at that point if you're pro Bitcoin or pro BCH or pro some other crypto. People are going to see this for what it's doing and take into consideration, oh, hey, hold up now. Maybe the Dragon Riders had a point here all along. Maybe we are going to new all-time highs. And I think it's not necessarily completely appropriate to talk about the all-time highs in a specific manner. I don't know specifically where we're going to go. I think that we will break above 10K by the end of the cycle, but you never know. And it's not specific, or it's not appropriate to give a specific target because we don't know how you're going to perform yet, right? I have this expectation, this anticipation that you will run all the way up to your last cycle's highs by the end of June or higher. I have that expectation. I think that Bitcoin Cash is going to blow people away. It's going to put itself back on the map. And I also have a theory correlating with all this actually, that if BTC, Solana, XRP, Ethereum, and Cardano, they're added to the United States crypto reserve. I have a theory that other countries, other nation states are going to look for viable options to throw into their crypto reserves as well. They're not just going to buy the exact same bag the United States does, because if they do, then they're they're very directly pumping the bags of the United States. And that's not what competitors want to do. Competitors want to compete. And if they want to compete, they're going to have to find their own coins. And I think Bitcoin Cash is a very obvious choice if you're looking for a competitor to Bitcoin. In fact, it might be the only coin. And I know it sounds crazy. I know I sound like a Bitcoin Cash moon boy, right? I like to think I'm a little bit logical. I don't believe Bitcoin Cash will ever flip Bitcoin. Right, that's not a common thought in the Bitcoin Cash community. A lot of Bitcoin Cash people think it will flip Bitcoin. I don't think it will. I think because Bitcoin, and the reason why is I don't think that it needs to be one or the other. There doesn't need to be a champion. They can both exist because Bitcoin Cash has adhered so much so to the true nature of what Satoshi's vision was on the white paper. Satoshi's vision. I gotta stay away from BSV there. For as far as BSV or Bitcoin Cash goes, yeah, they both can't exist forever, right? BSV will probably go away, or maybe it'll flip Bitcoin Cash. You never know. But Bitcoin Cash adheres more to that white paper, that the original Bitcoin white paper, than Bitcoin does now. Bitcoin's not a peer-to-peer cash system. It's a store of value. And if BTC is a store of value, Bitcoin Cash is a peer-to-peer cash system, there's room in the world for both of them to exist. I do believe that Bitcoin Cash will do so well this cycle that the narrative across the space, across the crypto, it won't just be in the niche community of the Bitcoin Cash community, but I think that across the crypto space, we're going to hear the narrative of, can Bitcoin Cash flip Bitcoin? Is that actually going to happen? I don't think it ever will, but we'll hear that narrative come about, right? There will be some belief in Bitcoin Cash. And if there were, even with everything that I've said so far, if there were to be a coin, a crypto to flip Bitcoin ever, it would be this one. It would be this one. But I don't think any coin's going to flip Bitcoin personally. I don't think that it will. But this is the better Bitcoin. Yeah, that one would be the one that would flip it. But I don't think that's what's going to happen. I do believe that with this move, Bitcoin Cash will be looked at in a different light than it has been its entire life. People outside the Bitcoin Cash community will start to look at this the exact same way that we look at it. It's like a time machine. It's a portal back to when, if you could go back in time and buy Bitcoin, it's at $84,000 now. If you could buy it at $342, would you do it? Absolutely you would. Because here's the deal, guys. Regardless of how high we go this cycle, whether we stop right here at our current all-time high, whether we go to 13K like I think we're going to go to, maybe from a high to a low, we stop at 10K at the golden ratio right here. based off of the last cycle, the bear market high to low. Maybe we stop at 10K to 13K. This is the area that I think we go to. Maybe we go all the way to the promised land of 23K by the end of the cycle, regardless of what happens, right? Where was I going with this? People are going to start to look at it like Bitcoin, like a time machine, right? This inevitably will promote the notion, regardless if you stop here at this high. That's what I was saying. This high, you stop all the way up at 23K, or you stop somewhere in between, like I think we're going to. But again, it's not appropriate to call the exact area until we see how we perform here. Whenever stuff like that starts to happen, people will connect the dots that, okay, if it saw that kind of growth, could it not then go up to $100,000 like Bitcoin did? I mean, it's got the same tokenomics. People will start to look into Bitcoin Cash. They'll be like, wow, it's faster, it's cheaper, it's actually more usable as cash than Bitcoin is itself. There's more development going on with this project. It's not as slow, like not just slow on the chain, but I mean like slow as far as development goes and innovation goes. That can really bring a lot of belief in this thing. And I very much believe this. Not financial advice, not a financial advisor, but we're at $342 now. It wouldn't surprise me in the least if Bitcoin Cash was worth $50,000 or more by the end of next cycle, right? You've got an opportunity right here. Imagine you could go back in time. Imagine you're in your first bull cycle with Bitcoin. Maybe it's this cycle, maybe it's this cycle here, whatever. And you bought here at the low, you're super smart and it pumped, you feel super smart, and then it dumps, you get scared, so you sell out. But then it pumps back again, you FOMO in, and you're like, damn, I should have just held all along. Comes up here, you're holding because you're euphoric, and then it dumps, you panic sell, then it pumps again, damn it, I should have held all along, I'm gonna buy. You made some bad decisions, you didn't maximize your gains, and then retrospectively, after the bear market, after all this, you look back now at the very first time that you bought Bitcoin, which probably for most people wasn't here. You look back at it and you're like, man, if I just bought and I held and I didn't try and play this game, I would be in such a better position right now. How many people, raise your hand if you can say that, right? If you never played the game, you'd be in a better position right now. You've got that second opportunity chance with Bitcoin Cash here. Even at a $3,000 price, a $2,000 to $5,000 price, people are going to connect those dots, right? That if I just buy this and I hold it for multiple cycles, right, which might seem easier, it's easier said than done. Whenever it's your first cycle, especially, you don't really have that in you. But now that you've been around for multiple cycles, you probably understand that the idea that if you just held, no matter what the cycle dynamics are, if you just hold, you're going to do really well for yourself. If you hold Bitcoin Cash, not just for this cycle, but for next cycle, you're going to see some fantastic growth, some fantastic gains. And that's why this is one of my largest portions. That's why whenever it comes to the bear market, I will not be selling all of my Bitcoin Cash. I will be holding BCH. I'll be holding USDC because I get, dividends or not APY. You get basically dividends on that. You get interest on that monthly. And some other cryptos. There's another crypto actually that I think BNB is a good one to hold during the bear markets as well. It's the only crypto that's outperformed Bitcoin in bear markets for the last two bear markets, actually, to be completely fair. But I think Bitcoin Cash has a lot of longevity. I think that it's here to stay, and I think that we're about to break out and see some fantastic growth. So over the coming days, I'm anticipating that we see prices that are above $400, maybe even above $500, definitely close to $500 one way or another. By the end of this month, we're looking for prices that are around 488 to 575, somewhere in that zone there. And then by the end of this move, by the end of June, we're looking for new cycle highs, but potentially prices that are worth multiple thousands of dollars, if not something around like $1,600 to $1,800 there. I've got nothing else to say. I think I talked enough. I hope that it was coherent. I hope that it was easy to follow along. It'll be a very big deal, you guys, whenever we break out above this, whenever the ribbon flips bullish on a monthly note. It'll also be bullish for the weekly. It'll also be bullish for the 3-day and the daily time frame whenever that happens. We've got all these bullish things coming our way. BCH to BTC, let's look at that real quick as well. BCH to BTC, it has gone down a lot. We have seen the lowest low that we've ever seen for Bitcoin Cash versus Bitcoin, and this was not part of the plan here, but sometimes life doesn't care about your plans, man. It does look like a relative kind of like double bottom look, and if things go according to plan or if things go well, I very much believe that BCH can and will surpass these highs by the end of the cycle. We'll see targets that are at like 1.8% of a Bitcoin, 2% of a Bitcoin, and maybe even beyond that. If we plug that in here, I keep wanting to end this video, man, but we're down the rabbit hole now, so let's complete the thought. Let's say BCH to BTC by the end of this cycle only gets here. Hold on. Had to sneeze, man. Had to sneeze. Woo. Let's say it only gets here. I don't think that it does. I think that it goes higher, but let's say it only gets here. That's 1.9% of a Bitcoin. Okay? 0.019% of a Bitcoin. Right? 9, 191. Let's do that. 1.91. Okay. If Bitcoin's at, and I think that by the end of the cycle, Bitcoin will be at $500,000. Where will Bitcoin Cash be? I bet Bitcoin Cash tops off after Bitcoin, not with Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin tops at 500K, maybe whenever Bitcoin's at 450K, it cools off a little bit. That'll be when Bitcoin Cash tops off. I don't know. That would give Bitcoin Cash an $8,600 price. 8,600 takes it to new all-time highs, and that's very close. Whoops, that's very, very close to that $10,000 target area that we have. I'm being pessimistic, right? This is pessimistic. I don't think that we stop here. I truthfully think that BCH versus BTC probably stops here or higher, but I wanted to take that first just to show that even 8,600 is a likelihood at this point, right? New all-time highs are inevitable. Not inevitable, anything can happen, but I very much do believe it's going to happen. We take that same notion, but we run it with different numbers. 2.7676%. 7676 right there, multiplied by that same number of $450,000. Because I think Bitcoin will achieve 500K or more. I just think that after it pulls back, that's when altcoins form their finale phases, as they always do. That gives Bitcoin Cash a $12,454 target, which is very absurdly close to our 13K target from this high to low here, right? I'm not saying it has to happen. I'm just saying we can make sense out of it through multiple means, right? And if Bitcoin Cash does see this, if we do have some kind of double bottom here, if you've been in this lifelong downtrend versus Bitcoin and you finally break out of it, are you going to just break out of it a little bit, or are you going to see some miraculous expansion? I think you'll see miraculous expansion. And the reality is you could go higher than anything that I've talked about so far, from a high to a low, if you were to just go to your golden ratio, which I'm not saying you do. I think it'll be quite the feat, quite an accomplishment if you do. But that's 3.8% of a Bitcoin, 3.8357. We do that, and we multiply by that same number. I hope it's obvious as to why I think this, right? Bitcoin itself, I believe, will see its 2272 by the end of the cycle. The 2272 is here at 460. Oftentimes, not oftentimes, every time you interact with 2272, you go just above it. Just above it, there's 500K. When Bitcoin tops off, it'll cool off, and that's when altcoins explode. Bitcoin Cash is an altcoin, and they top off like a month after Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin hits 500K, which I think it will, and it tops off, a month later, maybe it's worth like 450K, maybe it's worth less, maybe it's worth more. I don't know, but we're just taking this as a rough estimate. 17K, right? And with that, maybe we've accepted or acknowledged that the 20K prices are not as possible as we once thought they were, but still $10,000 and beyond is absolutely a possible accomplishment for Bitcoin Cash. The average crypto, I think, is going to perform. It's going to do a 30x by the end of this cycle. So all Bitcoin Cash needs to do to outperform that is basically to perform on par with that would be about a $10,000 price. Just above that is your minimum target here at 13K. I think that's where you're going to go, man, by the end of the cycle. But time will tell. If, again, guys, if we see some crazy movement, if we're all the way up above like 2,700 by the end of June, if we're at 4,000 by the end of June, then we can start talking about 20K a little bit more candidly. But until then, until we see how this move reacts, I want to leave it open. We could stop at 13K. We could stop at 8K. We could stop at 10,000. You could go higher or lower. We don't know, but until this next move happens, I'm expecting big things. We'll see how it goes. I've got nothing else for you guys. Hit the like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye.